Shkaya. So, excellent. I think it's clarified a lot of things. There's actually been quite a bit of discussion on social media, right? So what I basically did was that I took all the questions and I put them into a few combined questions that hopefully will address whatever everybody's asking, and hopefully you'll be able to answer at least some of them.
Okay, I'm going to try my best. Obviously, after 2 hours talking, my head's spinning, but let's go.
Okay, first question. Why are there still rabbanim who believe that Techeiles is a nignaz when there's the card rejecting that? I mean, the Chasdei David, quoting the results, says that there's three types of Techeiles, and the type for the Kohen Gadol was the one that was nignaz. Why isn't this makar more widely believed or accepted? Is it just not well known?
Again, I didn't understand.
No. So there are some rabbanim that believe that Techeiles is
Let me say step one. The reason why I believe most Rabbanim say that Techeiles is nignaz is because they were never introduced to all the Mekayris that say that it could come back. That's number one. Is that clarification?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Is that okay, fine.
Oh, because I thought you were bringing something about the Kohen Gadol or something like that. Okay.
Yeah, because you have the Chassidut with the Kos Rizal saying that there's three types of Techeiles, right?
Okay, I didn't hear that. Yeah, but it wouldn't have to come out to that. We have all the poskim that say that it comes back. It's end of discussion. It's really a avla of all those people that are feeding information and not really saying over, not giving the accurate information. It's a problem. That's why Rabbanim don't want to go into the subject, because they're feeling they're being misled. And actually, the same chashash is by the people that are wearing Techeiles and are convinced they might be misleading them also. And it's very hard to go through it. You have to, in order to do a psak, it takes many months. Many Rabbanim, I personally know Rabbanim that spent in it months and years. And like I said, Rabelski spent in it 20 years. It's a recording. He says he spent in it 20 years. And it's hard. And in Rabbanim, I gave once my contrast to a chashuv v'rav, very chashuv v'rav, to go through, and I came to him again a long time later. He says, "It's your safer still was on for the past few months, was on my table. I'm too busy with shilas of pikuach nefesh. I never got a chance to go through it. So first you have to go through it. Then you have to trust the person. So it's very hard. Some Rabbanim went through it. Most of them didn't go through it. The Matzia says that 95%, I'm being generous, I'm saying 95, it's really more, of Rabbanim that went through it were convinced that this is it, and their whole outlook changed. As you know, Ramesh Steinbach, I have has told my friend clearly that he's chayzer from his shuvas after him sitting down together with him. He was chayzer, and we know afterwards he started wearing it, because he might be a mitzvah. Not that he's convinced, but he was never introduced to it in action. Okay, I think that's enough to say, because there are a lot of things you can't say in public. And the bottom line is that a lot of times there are people that don't let people introduce things to Rabbanim. Yeah.
Okay, very good. So next question. And this is, again, like I said, I combined a whole bunch of things so that, it should be in a few condensed questions. The New York Struggles is organic.
It's fine. You can make. You don't have to condense it. I'm fine. I'm here for you. I'm perfectly fine.
Scott, the New York Struggles is organic, right? And therefore, without adding sunlight, one can potentially produce a wide range of shades from blue-green to blue-violet to blue-purple, especially when not heated to very high temperatures, right? So how do we know that the ideal color is dafka blue, like blue, and not bluish-purple or bluish-violet? Also, how much do we need to get caught up in one specific color?
What was the second part?
Also, like how much do we really need to get caught up in one specific color, that this color is Techeiles and the others are not?
So I just remind myself, I told Dr. Zeideman told me I should say something. I forgot to say it. Very important. He was very strong. Two things he was very strong. You have to talk nicely, not make machlekas. Very strong. We can mechabed each other. That was the very thing he made emphasis again and again in the email and talking. The next thing he said was that does not nothing to do with what he asked. I just reminded myself, I don't want to forget about it. That he said people should not be discussing the chemistry of the chemicals and all these things of the Murex trunculus. People ask how it's made up. It's exactly Kalilon. Different. If you are not a chemist, don't speak about it. It's just like going to a guy in the street and asking him a pshat in the Rashba. If you are planning to write some scientific thing, fine, you could speak about it. But if you are not shaykh to the sugya, you're not a chemist, don't talk about the subject. It's not your subject. You're going to be going in a dark room. Leave go of that subject. Okay, it's very important because a lot of people talk about the subject and they have no clue what they're talking about. Keep away. Okay, now back to your question about the color. So the color of Techeiles was actually discussed at length in many svarim. I discuss it at length in my sefer, exactly what the color is. Now, it's not a question that the Techeiles is blue. That's not even a question. We have many Rishonim, many proofs that the Techeiles is the color of the sky. The Rambam says of a clear sky, and we know the way that you tie the tzitzis is supposed to be has to do with the color of the sky. So the Techeiles is for sure blue. That's not a question. It's not up for discussion, actually. Even if we would only be able to make purple out of the Murex trunculus, then we would say the Murex trunculus is not the chilazon. But it's not a question from the Rishon that the Techeiles is blue. Now, could it be purple? Actually, Chazal, we don't find anything about purple. Maybe purple is a part of a blue. It might be part of the blue. Possible, it might be a tzad. In one place of Shamshav Hirsch seems to put purple and blue together. The Amikurs maybe depends which purple. Maybe it depends on purple and violet. If it's a reddish one, reddish blue wouldn't be kosher. The point is, as long as it's in the blue family, then that would be as far as it should be kosher. But if it's united to any other color, Edom, then it wouldn't be kosher. So Edom is definitely a different color than blue. Is purple a different color than blue? That we could discuss. Not much sources discuss it. I discuss it in my sefer, but that's a discussion. But there's no point in making blue purple because we know it's blue, and that's what the chilazon makes. And I'll point out something very important. I once sent it to you, Rafi. I never got to make it. This is this that the Murex makes purple, and is assumed that the main color of the Murex making purple, and it also makes blue, is a mistake. The main color the Murex makes is blue. As a matter of fact, the purple that comes from the Murex ends up turning blue. So much, though, that there were those that were made purple tzitzis. I'm not sure what they relied on, but they made purple tzitzis, and they ended up turning blue. Dr. Zayman writes that in order to prove that the Murex makes good purple, we would have to do more research. Even if the Murex makes purple, it is definitely not the main color it produces. There are many Murexes, the younger ones, the older ones, different places that only make blue. One in Tunis makes only blue. It doesn't even have an optional purple. There's many proof that I wrote about this, but Arichas Gedola, that the color which the Murex produces is blue. And I think that's important information which has to be clarified and correct the big mistake that was made all generations. I'll note that the reason for this mistake was that the word used for the Murex was always purpura, which people associate with the word purple, which is a big mistake. Purple in the earlier writings has no association with the color of purple. It's just the dye of the purpura, and anywhere it says purple in the earlier writings, has nothing to do with that color, and you can't prove anything from that. Okay.
So next question. Okay, regarding the chilazon, this goes back. We partially answered this with Zayman's comments. Regarding the chilazon, what if Thiel was partially right, and their premise was relevant to a geographical location? For example, the Murex trunculus snails in Tunisia may consistently produce a different type of blue compared to the ones in Spain, the ones in Italy, etc., etc. You also have, just
I'm understanding that we're referring to different shades over here. The question is referring to different shades. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, you also have different types of esrogim around the world, depending on where they're grown, and they're shaped differently, they're colored differently a little bit. So
Yeah.
is
So
that
we have sources saying that different shades is not a problem. The Rajvaz in many different places. I have wrote a simon on that in my sefer that different shades of Techeiles is not ma'akev. It could be any shade as long as it's blue. Again, once you get into something that looks like a different color, then you get into the questions. But if it's dark blue, light blue, shavacha blue, strong blue, they do all those is all part of different shades. And the Radvaz and others clearly say that shades is not b'chal shayla.
Mhm. Mhm.
So if the
Got it.
people question Rashi's mashma it's dark and the Rambam mashma it's light, do what you choose. If that's what you come out with, then what's nicer? Yeah.
Yes, I hear what you're saying. Next question, and this is more of a kasha and a maisa, right? So Scheinberg only we have from the picture that he only wore one pair of New York Techeiles, and it's possible that he also won with Razin Techeiles, and the rest
He
of
did.
the
He did.
he did.
He
So
won with the Rosinas.
he wore one New York and one Razin. My question is, why wasn't he consistent with Techeiles if it's a chiyuv and it was not disproven? Like, why didn't he wear all of it blue, like, maybe half Razin, half New York, whatever the cheshbon is?
So the simple reason is, like I said, that when someone that was very close to me told me that he asked him, should he put on Techeiles? He said, as long as it's disproved, as long as it's not disproved, so you should put it on. Now, meaning to say, Rabbi Steinberg wore it not because he was convinced. He was worried because, like a good Jew, tries to chaperayim as many mitzvahs as possible. So he put on Radzinas. He was not convinced at all. I don't even know how much he knew about the Murex or the details. But he asked. But he knew it was available. So let's put it on. Let's be mekayim the mitzvah as possible. So to do all the tzitzis, he didn't feel was something just because I'm trying to kind of mitzvah that we wouldn't have to do. Just an extra hitter.
I hear. No, I mean, just to compare. I mean, we also have a letter from Shlomo Zalman Auerbach to Dr. Zeiderman back in the mid-80s that he simply admitted that he simply did not have the time to do the research, and he was an old man and full of the full. So we can't always assume that just because somebody's a high authority figure, that he's gone through the same amount of research that somebody who's really been articulate in it has.
Yes, you're right. I actually have a whole mimer which I never printed of what all the Gedolim said. Maybe we could give a share another time about it. All what the Gedolim said why they don't wear Techeiles, which nothing has to do with not wearing it. It seems like that, or Rabbanim said over. Like many Rabbanim are saying over that. Even the Gedolim, like Moshe Machakarp says that Yashav told him to put it on, and Yashav told him the lashon of Yashav told him was that as long as it's not the oil was not wearing it, she only wears talis cotton. So means to say when the oil once the oil started wearing it, he went to Chaim Kanievsky, and Chaim Kanievsky told him not put on your talis gadol. So they felt that Rabbi Yashav clearly says he doesn't know the details. And like you're saying, they felt that you need to have, like Shmuel Orbach said, and you need to have more kaiches to go through the sugya. And they, many Rabbanim say like this. I think I heard it from Rabbi Kaplan and others that let's the olam fight it out. Let them fight it out. Let them fight out the way it's supposed to. Obviously, the way it's supposed to. And after a bunch of years, we'll be able to see both stadim, and then we'll be mevared. Us, we're busy with tirdas, shivas, with the yonim. We have the most shilos and nagunas and kuch nefesh coming to us. In order to get authentic psak, let them fight it out, and then we'll address it. So that's why we see that's what's happening now. The Rabbanim are going through it slowly but surely, and that's the way it should be.
Very good. So, and B'der Chaga with Rabbi Karp. When did he start to take it on that he's going to wear in his house huddle? And I know that you recently tied for him, so.
Yeah, I actually tied him up here to Talis Gadol. He asked me to tie for him.
So when did he decide? You know what? It's fine.
No, I don't know the time. Not so. I don't know the times, but that's what he actually asked me to tie. I was able to tie the tzitzis for many Rabbi Gissinger. He asked me to tie for him Techeiles. And other Rabbanim asked me.
Did the Techeiles variation of chinuch with Tosfos?
What did he wear?
Yeah, I'm curious. The Rabbi Gissinger. He wrote Techeiles variation of chinuch with Tosfos ratio, correct?
I don't remember the details. I don't remember the details how he tied it. He probably let me tie it the way I want to, but I can't. I was able to be in his house a couple of times. He wrote me a skama. To make other Rabbanim also. I dealt with many Rabbanim also. Some Rabbanim don't have the names out, but I was able to make for other Rabbanim also and deal with other Rabbanim that were convinced. Chashav Rabbanim, people ask all the questions to do hadrach and everything.
As it should be. Okay, I have a couple of comments myself on Rabbi Kallus, so maybe to answer. As you pointed earlier, Rabbi Kallus mentioned the patzia as cracking instead of squeezing. Is a modern Hebrew term. Like he actually says this in the shir. And when I saw this, I was like, my head exploded. He also says in Rashi that chilazon is a class form, right? He ignores that, for example, Rabbi Abraham ben Rambam details that psias chilazon is which involves cutting and slashing like one would do to walnuts. This is 1,000 years before modern Hebrew. Excuse me. So my question then is, my question is, does that mean that he isn't aware of these other Rishonim? Or, I'm sorry to say, but was he intentionally hiding something? There's
no question. It's not it's obvious. It's obvious, and it's very important. That's why it's very important to share. It's clear as day that he was misled. He did not have the sources. It seems like he had some sources from 30 years ago. It's not even a question that he was not updated, and the people that updated him, I would say the people that updated him didn't give him the right information. I actually know of a different Rav. By now already he was Chayzer, but he gave Shurim, not going to get into details, against Techeiles, came out against Techeiles.
Yeah.
I spoke to someone that spoke to him, and he told my friend that he has not read anything pro Techeiles. What he came out against was only from what his Talmidim gave over all the sources about Techeiles Sugya. Meaning to say, he never, whatever he wrote or said against Techeiles was not coming from the idea from what we represent. As since then, he has been Chayzer, but we're not going to get into details. Yeah.
Got it. Rabbi Kallus also pointed out that Techeiles blood is being shachar kidyo, black like ink, which is very explicit and not purple. I also recall from hearing a big part of Mordechai Herschel's shir saying the same in another recording, and he compares it to the ideal color of the Resus tefillin, which is being ink black and not blue or purple. So, do you have any comments on that? Shachar kidyo.
The Mishnah says that for black in the tefillin you can't use blue, but he says a palagazach for the Retzuis you can use blue for the black. Even though lachem shesina you have to have shachar. But he says when you need the diyoi color, the halachic criteria, but diyoi, that's not the halacha of that. The blue doesn't pass that. Okay, so the question is what do we do with the Rambam shachar k'diyoi?
Exactly.
Yeah. So again, if you look at Levush Aaron, again, this is a fair question. It's a very fair question. If you're not satisfied with the answers, look at Levush Aaron. He explains that it gives you pictures of when the Kallus makes fun of it, but I'll talk about it soon. But the place where the murex is a black vein shachar k'diyoi, and also when it's in the vat, it's black like ink. If you don't like that, kol kavod. But I would say two things. First of all, it's very interesting. I never saw it myself. Maybe I should. That when Aristotle speaks about the murex trunculus and the murex brandaris, one that makes blue and one that makes red, he says that the place where you take out the murex is black, and the place we take out the brandaris is red. He's clearly referring to when he speaks about black, he's clearly referring to this vein of the black vein and the red vein of the trunculus. That's where the dye comes from. So more than that, it's Yidua. The big question is, when I speak about this Rambam, the big question is, where did the Rambam get it? Where did the Rambam get it? Shachar k'diyoi. Rambam himself is a great source. I trust the Rambam Shachar k'diyoi. But there are Yehuda, I think, and others say, in order to understand what the person is saying, you have to understand the source from where it's coming from.
Mhm.
Chol ha-Torah kula. I'm not a big bucky, Chol Torah kula, but I can tell you enough people that went through the subject that in Chol Torah kula, you're not going to find anywhere that the dam chilaz neshach kadyoy. It doesn't exist.
Right.
So what do people do? So the question is, where did the Rambam get it from? Okay, the Rambam had a medrash that got lost. I don't know. I'm not a big bucky Rambam, so I'm not going to. You got to please put down such a basic fact. I don't accept that teretz. So for me, the only teretz would be, I think Herzog pointed out, is that when Aristotle speaks about the Meirich Trunculus, he says in the Arabic version, he says that its ink is black. He says that the dye is black like ink. When he speaks about the Meirich Trunculus, this is what he says. These are the words he uses. He uses the Rambam's words to explain Meirich Trunculus. To me, if there's no Makar in the Torah, and we know in Hilchos Kiddush HaChodesh, the Rambam says he uses Aristotle, and we know that you don't have to say that. It's double pashut. So that would be a raya that the Rambam held the Meirich is actually the Chilaz and Techeiles. Rather than being a kasha, this would be a raya. But we'll leave that to, Allah if you don't like it, and that's enough proof for you against all the Achronim, all the Rishonim, and everything that we bring. So don't put it on. Yes.
Very good. Very good. Just a couple of other points. Somebody pointed out. I think all the main questions have been answered. If you have a couple minutes, that would be fantastic.
Please ask me any question you want. No problem.
Thank you. Thank you. The form's open. Everybody is listening. One person suggesting is it possible that the Chilaz and Techeiles might be an orderless, right? Because it's round.
It might be what?
A nautilus.
Nautilus? What's that?
A nautilus. So someone wrote that this person's reason for asking about the nautilus is that it can house both octopi and squid. So sort of like Yosef Chaldeus. I've sent an
I was
email.
going to point out a point. I just being Yosef Chaldeus. I just want to point out something. I don't know. I never heard of this creature. So it has to be, again, when we're weighing the Radzina against the Murex, it has to be clear. It's not against the Murex. It's the Radzina against all the sources which the Murex is based on.
Right.
So all the sources say it's a snail. So then it can't be that. No. So then obviously it can't be that. I'll actually point out two things. That Radzina held that the Meirich Trunculus is kosher lechatchila for Techeiles shel mitzvah. Radzina held there's absolutely no reason for anyone to wear the Radzina Techeiles today, even if he wants to be Yosef Chaladeus.
Which Radzina Rebbe?
What?
Which Radzina Rebbe said this?
The Radzina, Chanoi Chanach. According to Chanoi Chanach, the Meirich Trunculus is kosher lechatchila for Techeiles shel mitzvah. I see in your eyes that you're a little. What?
How's that possible?
How is that possible? Very simple. Because he says, he clearly, look at his sefer, that any Balchai is kosher l'Techeiles shel mitzvah. And l'chatchila. According to Radzina, there is no reason to be Yetzel Chaladeus. Because he holds that every Balchai is kosher l'chatchila for Techeiles. And there's a very simple reason. Because why do you have to have the Chilaz and Techeiles? What is the reason? Why can't I use my magic markers? So
I was going to say the reason why I chose cuttlefish is he was looking for the simanim according to what he understood the Rambam was saying.
What he says is, yeah, it's true the chalazin is good, and it could be even the grasshopper is good, and whatever it is, the giraffe might be good for the chalazin and Techeiles, but I'm gonna find the one that Chazal had. Liyeser seis means to be mahadrim and mahadrim of Chanukah. I'll be yotze the one that Chalazin had, but it's kosher lechatchila. And why? He explains why. Because why do we have to use the Chalazin at all? Because he says the reason is the Yerushalmi that you need to be a Balchai. The only makar that we need to use the Chalazin is it has to be a Balchai. So any Balchai, as long as it lasts long, gives Techeiles, which is last long. We know the Murex is the scientifically strongest creatures dyes in the world. That would be kosher lechatchila according to Radzina. According to Radzina, there's no reason not to use the Murex. Now, number two, I would say, 1 second, Radzina originally held that the chilazon is a shell, something with a shell. That's what he held in Techeiles. He writes this in Sefer. I thought it was some shell creature, like a whatever. It could be maybe a turtle, but some shell creature. But when I found the cuttlefish, because the Medrash sounds to say it's a cuttlefish, then I really understood what it is. But the most original of the Radzina was that it is something which had a shell in the chilazon. So that's very important to know. Yeah,
that's very interesting. For a couple of reasons. So first of all, the cuttlefish, as we know, it's nartic is in the inside of the.
It's a scientific cuttle. It's a scientific nartic. It's not a. I don't think the Ramban would call that a nartic. It's a scientific nartic.
Exactly.
We spoke about this before. We spoke about this year before this year. We spoke about the Davar Hanila Anayim. It's right. Chazal will never refer to that as a nartic.
Right. Well, right.
Another very important point about the Radzina's Techeiles, a very important point, which my friend Sruli Barkin points out, is that you see from the Radzina, there was something that he did, some reason he didn't want to accept that it's a snail. And the reason is that really I have other sources that from Gedolei Achronim that the Murex was, many Achronim quote the Murex as something for the Argaman. Let's not get into it. But the Techeiles Yisrael speaks about the Murex being for the chilazon. He says it doesn't make blue, only makes Argaman. So it can't be it. And the Radzina brings it down. The Radzina actually discusses the Murex trunculus. And he says that's very good that the Techeiles was right that he pushes it away because it's Taka doesn't make blue. I mean, if you say it was you do a lot of mistakes. You just know that a lot of people thought the Murex was a clam. It wasn't clear. The Murex for many years wasn't around, and the books over the generations made certain mistakes and details were very blurry. So one of the things was that it makes red. One of the things was that it's a clam. These are all everyone. There's no question. They're all spoke about the Murex trunculus, but they had the details wrong, and the Radzina was very strong with this area, and he knew it's very possible that he seemed to know about this, but it was Yedua for those for using red, and that's why he was or purple or whatever. That's why he was very strong against it because he felt it's against the Messiah, and we have to maskilim. We have to come out against it. Yeah,
it's very fascinating because we'll have the of those, right? So you're saying that the Radzina Rebbe felt that any Baal Chai that can actually produce this blue is kosher l'chachila, right? Yeah. So Dr. Zeiman and I have had a few conversations also, and he's pointed out. And keep in mind, he's a scientist. He's researched the New York's trunculus for Techeiles for over 50 years. So for it to come from him is very important to know. His own attitude is that for those that have a tradition to wear the Radzina Techeiles, such as Raziners, Breslevers, those are a lot because he does have a certain level of respect for Hasidic thought and the Hasidic process of following the Rebbe, whatever the Rebbe says, right? So he's not against that. His only thing is though he's 100% certain that was not the Techeiles has done in antiquity, which as you're pointing out seems to be Rabbi Liner's opinion also that it's just that the other blues are not done in antiquity like the one that he feels is the correct one. So I'm just finding a very interesting parallel between the two.
Okay. Good. Nice. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, so let me see if there's anything else. If there's nothing else really. There's a few more purple questions about the oxidized glands and the violet blue, could be purple. That's finished. But the bottom line is we understand that the main color series is blue and all the blue family. That's the Yekar, correct?
Yes, the blue. That's it.
Exactly. Okay. I think that's pretty much it. I'm sure if there's anybody that has any more questions, send you an email. The website is techeiles.org, and there's a contact form. Any questions need to be asked can be asked over there, and they'll be addressed shortly.
Great. Thank you, Rafi. Thank you, everyone listening.
Okay, Shkaya, have a good one, and everybody have an easy and meaningful fast.
Yes, we should be saying to build the base in English with Kohen Gadol. With it's very interesting that it's very funny. They all bring their sefri about the nignaz. I think the Olam should know the free nignaz. So we know already that this free nignaz is not a riot because they had it afterwards. But we just sometimes you don't realize the importance. So you know, but Olam's speaking about now the Ramban. The Ramban says that that's a free. He's talking about Techeiles Response. I'm just saying it's good for the Olam to know that that's a free. He's talking about Techeiles Response. That Techeiles is nignaz until Techeiles Response. So it's. We hope that Techeiles doesn't come back and we Mashiach before Techeiles Response. We hope this nigga should be built. We should have everyone should wear the Techeiles and the kuna. And that's it. Have yourself fast.
Okay, so yes, we need Mashiach to come right away. We need the basic pictures. We need everything to fall into place, and hopefully the revival of Techeiles from the past 130 years and the process in us getting to where we are right now is a step in the right direction.
Thank you.
Oh, one last question. I'm gonna let you go. Sorry about that. So somebody's asking about reduction tests. You did mention that Dr. Zayman said that anybody who's a non-scientist should not be asking questions related to science.
Like me, yeah.
Like you, and like most of us. So somebody has his own chiddush. It's not only his own chiddush. I mean, I heard from Dr. Koren, Dr. C. Koren about this. About that the reduction test was supposed to separate the reddish part from the blue. But again, there's textual vagueness in that. There's textual vagueness in the term tzivon. I'm just leading the question here. There's textual vagueness in the term tzivon, and the textual vagueness in terms of samanim and what the role is, and not only that, but throughout Shas there are tons of other tests which have no practical application. Do you want to talk about that and how this resolves this whole thing about the reduction test and whether or not the real test is supposed to be purplish?
I'm not capable of answering this question. I would love to answer it, but I don't know. I'm not capable.
Not a problem. Listen, I've kept here for quite a long time. It's already almost 2 o'clock. It's already been how many hours already? It's been 2.5 hours. You've been very wonderful with your patience and answering these questions. So shkayach, and hopefully this will, as you mentioned, this will enhance a lot more clarity, and hopefully a lot more clarity in terms of all the other things that we need for the Bais Shishi and Mashiach and all the good stuff.
Take
care.